Welcome to the Love on the Go podcast, brought to you by Carolina's Matchmaker. I'm Laurie Burzak, and for over 17 years, I've been helping singles find the relationship of their dreams all over the Carolinas. Along the journey, I've met so many amazing professionals and experts from various fields, and I'm excited to introduce them to you. What's my goal? I want to help you look at love and relationships in a new way and to grow in your understanding of how love works. Let's learn together how people have overcome personal obstacles and have found love, first and foremost with themselves. The ultimate goal is realizing that you are worthy and deserving of love. Let's get started. I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite people today. Her name is Lisa Amador, and she is a certified matchmaker, dating coach, speaker, columnist, best-selling author, singles event producer, and founder of Amador Matchmaking, which is basically, she does what I do out in California, in Santa Barbara. And we have known each other since she launched, which was in 2012. She and her husband co-own a pizzeria, and her husband is a sommelier. Am I saying that right? Sommelier?
That's
Sommelier.
perfect.
I
You got
got that. I'm sort of right. Okay. Anyway, he's a chef, and they do lots of really fun, like together marriage things. And she's also a proud mom of 5 adult children. We'll talk about that too. But I love Lisa. She and I are always usually roommates when we do our Matchmakers Alliance and all the different types of fun trips that we do together. Welcome, Lisa.
So great to be here, Laurie. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here. And also, she apparently puts up with my snoring better than my husband.
It's not that bad.
That's what she keeps saying. It's not that bad. I'm like, Kevin, how come Lisa can put up with my snoring, but not you? But in any event, Lisa is, you're such a shining light. You're so sweet. You're so kind. You're so straightforward. You give really good advice to people. You're a natural born matchmaker. And you and I are always in alignment, I feel like, with how we deal with clients. And, we're on different coasts, but, we've shared resources together. We've done a lot of things together. So I'm really excited to have you on today.
Laurie, I am really excited and I appreciate you so much. And I have to give you accolades because you are one of the reasons why I'm still existing today. You're one of my best supporters, my mentor. You're one of the first people I met in matchmaking. And instantly when we met, it was a hit. And you're one of my favorite people. I love how you relate to people, how you match people, how authentic and real and honest you are. And that's why you and me connect, because we match the same. We appreciate and respect people, and and you're so much fun.
On top of it all, we have a really fun time together.
That's another story.
I know, side note, when Lisa and I share rooms together on all these fun conferences we do together, and side trips too, unconference related, we just stay up till all hours of the night chatting. It's finally, we're like, okay, we have to go to sleep now. It's like, the fun, like pajama party when you're a teenager fun time. So it's always just so much fun. All right. So tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, like you mentioned, I'm very similar to yours, a boutique matchmaking firm. I'm in Santa Barbara. My focus is working with singles, typically high net worth, in the Santa Barbara region that extends all the way up to like Paso Robles and down to Santa Monica. So I do cover Los Angeles. That's a big territory for me. And when I work outside of these areas, because I work nationwide and in Canada, what that means is I'm working with other matchmakers to make matches. So if somebody is in your neck of the woods and I'm not going to represent them, I would refer them to you, or because that's how I work. Or maybe you have a client who's open to matching with somebody in my area.
Yes.
So I like to collaborate with matchmakers all over the US so we can make more love.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes a guy will come to me and be like, okay, here's the type of woman I'm looking for. And I take a look at her and I'm like, yeah, you're looking for a Miami or California girl. And I will refer them to my California friends.
And there definitely is a difference between the East Coast and
Sure.
the West Coast
Oh
and
yeah.
expectations and, oh
Yeah.
yes.
There's a lot of beautiful people in Santa Barbara. I'm gonna say that out loud. It's like every woman looks like she could be on like the cover of Sports Illustrated. North Carolina, I feel like I don't know. I mean, it's such a generalization, but it's a very kind of down to earth look here. Um, you know, women, I don't think they're not getting the plastic surgery as much as the California woman, where it's a lot of sort of pretty girl next door types, in my opinion. And then obviously it's a big financial area district here. And then Santa Barbara, it's, a lot of, like you were saying, high net worth, a lot of super wealthy people. Maybe it's not even their first residence. Is that right? They're sort of there. Is it like summer or winter?
So there's a good mix in Santa Barbara. You
Yeah.
have people who are really working hard to stay here, and they might be sharing a home with four other people to live here
Okay.
because of the lifestyle. So you
Yeah.
have that. And of course, you then have the uber wealthy who do have homes and maybe one, two, three homes, a yacht here. So
Yeah.
there's a good blend. What I love about Santa Barbara is that, because so Santa Barbara is next door to Los Angeles. So driving, it's an hour and a half on a good
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
Varies. The people are so different between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. So I
Totally.
feel Santa Barbara is more down to earth, more about outdoorsy, being more natural. But there is more money to be able to take care and maintain yourself. So it's not uncommon that even at young ages, women are doing the Botox and fillers
Sure.
but you take it to a whole nother level when you're going to Los Angeles, when this is more of the red carpet type of
Yeah.
clientele. There's very, very different dating between here and Los Angeles, alone between here and East Coast.
Yes, totally. That's what I love about our nation. Just so many different types of people everywhere. So I thought might be interesting to talk about a few different things. I'm going to kind of say it now so that um, for the person listening to get an idea of what we're going to be covering. So I want to talk about how to make space for dating and how to make it a priority and sort of how we, both Lisa and I, help people shift their thinking to make it successful. And then I thought it might be fun to talk about some recent matchmaking stories and, how we both knew that it would be a match. And then how to know when it's time to leave a marriage, and the different ways that we help our coaching clients through that and sort of get to the other side. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds wonderful.
Okay, great. All right. So, how to make space for dating and make it a priority, helping people shift their thinking to get to success. For example, appearance. We can talk about online dating. How do you when you do you first of all, do you work with people with online dating or is it just matchmaking?
I do work with people online dating.
Okay.
I do have a whole coaching program. Right now, we've been
Yeah.
talking about matching, but absolutely.
Okay.
And in fact, one of my recent matchmaking clients is now in a 7-month relationship, and I helped her make that space to date because she
Yeah.
wasn't making the space. I helped her up her appearance and become aware of how she presented herself. I
Okay.
her photographed and styled so she could get great photos, wrote her
Mhm.
profile, got her online and dated with her online,
Yep.
while experiencing all that, what you do online until she met her
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. It's such a great way to get to help our clients. And obviously, that I have a whole online dating management program. We've compared our notes on that, very similar programs. Um, so when you're working with these women, what do you think, and men with online dating, but I'm assuming it's more women than men that you're doing online dating for. Is that right?
Most Mostly for coaching, I work more with women because women are more open to being coached.
Oh yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So when you're helping somebody kind of shift their thinking, let's give an example. Like, a lot of times I'll work with a woman who is, a super busy professional, and she kind of already has like the next 3 months all laid out what she's going to be doing. She's got lots of friends, she's got trips, she's got her ideal mate in her mind, with not a lot of wiggle room in
Mhm.
terms of, and so it kind of makes you think, is she making this a priority? Is that
Mhm.
kind of, have you heard that scenario?
Oh, all the time. And so, what I find when somebody hires you and they're
Yeah.
putting some money in the game to
Mhm.
be able to have the outcome they want, I said, why, you need to make the space too, because if we're coaching you and helping you do the steps,
Yeah.
you're going to waste your money if you don't make that space. So the first thing I will do is I sit down and I look at their calendar and we start
Yep.
clearing their calendar.
Yeah.
And they need to commit to going out to at least a couple events a week
Yep.
where they can be meeting men, if we're talking about coaching a woman, of course.
Hmm.
And if they're not willing to do that, then I won't even work with them, because if they're not even
Right.
making space for themselves, how are they going to have success? So that's the first thing. It's getting them to say, okay, I want this to happen. How I'm going to
Mhm.
happen? Okay, so I'm going to clear my schedule, and we start doing that.
Yeah. Perfect. And then do you send people out on, do you go on Meetup, or do you look at like the calendar for their geographic area and say, well, this could be a fun thing to go to?
Yeah, so we do that for them as far as we suggest, like get on Meetup. So they'll do that by themselves, of course,
Sure.
but we'll give them, join young professionals if they're younger, or maybe this is a good community to join. So we will advise them on what's going on and where they are. But then we make a calendar for them also. We go through and we'll look through events because we have a team who looks through what's going on. And so
Yeah.
we'll suggest, and we sit down weekly, these are the events, which ones are you going to go
Yeah.
to?
I love that.
They
And yeah,
go.
I think that's great. And then the next coaching call, just like me, is okay, how was the event? I had one woman hire me, and she was like a real introvert. This was so much fun working with her. We actually created kind of like a to-do list each week of what I wanted her to do, and she checked off all those boxes.
Love
And
that.
I know, and one of the things she did was she joined a pickleball league.
Oh, yes.
She met
Yes.
friends there. I know. It's,
Pickleball is the greatest thing for singles. I mean, it's the greatest thing in general. I'm starting to play
yeah,
pickleball. It's so social and fun,
yeah.
but a lot of singles.
Yeah, yeah, so she joined this pickleball crew, and she just wanted to make some friends and kind of get outside of her comfort zone. She was also spending so much money on takeout food, and she wanted to lose some weight. So we like designed menus together. This was like so different from my usual coaching, but she ended up saving so much money that it ended up paying for the program that she did for me. And she ended up losing weight, which was one of her goals,
Gosh.
by actually starting to cook.
Anyway.
And she each week we just created like some new things that she'd been wanting to accomplish. And because she'd invested in the coaching, she actually did it. And I thought that was so brilliant. She was very, very happy. She wasn't even necessarily looking for a boyfriend. I mean, she would have liked that at the end of the day, but there were just some things in her life that she wanted to get going so that when she went on dates, she'd be able to talk about what she does for fun. Before that, she was pretty much a loner. She wasn't doing anything outside of talking to family on the phone. She had maybe one friend. All of a sudden, now she's got this cadre of friends, things to do every night, new routines and menus and things. And her spirit was so much lighter. I loved doing that kind of coaching. I just thought it was really fun.
Well, you geared her up for success,
Yeah.
because just the fact of, well, if you want to connect with people, you need to have things going on in your life that you're excited about. And that just is contagious when you can share that and you have those things to talk about. Otherwise, you might just be friend zoned because you don't really have a lot going on.
Yeah, I have a client right now, and I keep telling him, you need to do some things other than work and school. He's gone back for some graduate degree work, and he's like, I know, I'm just so tired,
Mm.
and he's just like, I can't. And then, he'll visit family and whatnot on weekends, and I'm like, instead of, it's great that you're visiting family, but if you want to meet a woman and have your own family, these dates that you're going on need to be more dynamic. And
Absolutely.
so that means you need to be doing some things on, to sort of be able to talk about things.
Yeah. And I'm sure you coached him that, look, your family loves you and they would
Yeah,
understand if I'm
yeah,
committing this time right now to myself so I
yeah,
can be meeting somebody uh if they're love him, they'll be supporting him. Like, you go. We'll
yeah.
get together with you later after you've met that
Yes.
person.
Exactly. I do think that it's common though for single people to get into just kind of into like a lot of fatigue.
Mhm.
Just emotional fatigue, physical fatigue, and just dating fatigue in general. And I think the way to get out of that is by doing new things, learning something new.
Absolutely. And I think the fatigue comes from the constant disappointment.
Yeah,
Uh, so when you start doing things that make yourself feel good,
yeah,
right, foundationally, you're already having a self win. And
totally.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, it's not just single people that feel that way. I mean, I personally feel fatigued often. And I think it's just there's so much going on in my head, so many things that I want to accomplish to the point where I just like shut down. And then I either need to do something that's just self-care related, or I need something exciting to look forward to. And what that usually means for me is plan a trip, see some friends, go hear music, do something creative, and just like do something that is different from my normal routine for me. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I feel better.
Yeah, and so you know what it is that you need to do for yourself, which is so wonderful, that
Yeah.
self-care and then planning something exciting for you to look forward to. So that
Yeah.
is, I think it's important for people to identify what excites them and what do
Yeah.
they need, how do they need to disconnect to recharge themselves.
Yeah.
It's a process to just sit down and really be introspective and recognizing what your needs are. And
Yeah. And even though I'm in a wonderful marriage, I can't count on my husband to do that for me. It has to come from inside me. So it has absolutely nothing to do with being partnered up or whatever. I just think it's the human condition. This is what happens. And especially after you've gone through. So, folks out there that are listening that are, they've had their marriages, their kids are growing up or they're grown out of the house, empty nesters, whatever. And it's kind of like, okay, what's next? I've already reached a point in my career that I'm proud of. It's like, what's new? Like what's going to be different for the next half of my life? And that's why it's so important to have these kind of long range goals and how to break it down into shorter, right? Lisa and I talk about this a lot, shorter range goals to get to our bigger goals and enjoy the process and not, the process of getting to those long range goals can be fun. It doesn't always have to be like drudgery because you want to already be there. Like enjoy the journey.
yes, and
Yeah.
you and I both, I don't know if you're still doing the ACT course,
No,
but
I took a break from it.
that to me, that's my tool for, because
Talk about what that is.
it's a program where you set goals for yourself
Yeah.
and you are in a group of people who hold you accountable.
Oh,
So that I've been doing it for about 4 years now,
yeah.
and it's weekly. We have weekly commitments to ourselves.
Yep.
We make this is I'm going to do these things this week, and I have
Yeah.
a coach who will check in and hold me accountable to it, and then I'm also coaching somebody else who I'm holding accountable to their goals. And so
Yep.
we learn how to set realistic goals, so we're not having frustration.
Right.
Or my very first week, I had so many things I wanted to do, I
Yeah.
couldn't possibly get it done.
Yeah.
I was going to be letting my coach down, and if I didn't get it done. So I was up all night, exhausted, trying to get it done, and I realized this is not sustainable.
No.
What I could do within my means of the time frame was each week,
Yep.
and holding myself responsible. Another thing, I had goals that I wanted to do that I was dependent on other, maybe I wanted to get together with somebody. And so I learned how to um, rely on myself to do goals that I knew I had control over and not get frustrated when I was waiting on somebody else. So
Yeah.
I
It makes
think
a lot of sense. And this is something that people that are listening, you can do this with a friend where say you are interested in dating. You can kind of outline what your goals are and then sort of make mini goals and ways that you're going to be doing that and then have an accountability partner. And maybe it's a wing woman where you both go to, the brewery or to the meetup or to the pickleball court or whatever it is, and you get to both check off the boxes, or it's just somebody that you check in with and just say, okay, I did it. And then you're more apt to get things done when you have a partner. It's kind of like meeting a friend at the gym.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is kind of like a part-time job dating and trying to find a partner for sure, especially online dating, which is why people hire Lisa and I. And also, honestly, with matchmaking, same thing. There's a lot of men that hire me and Lisa for matchmaking. I know you take on women for matchmaking too. And yeah, and they want kind of the quick and dirty, like the easy way to meet somebody with the matchmaking. And I totally get it because when people are online dating, it is a lot of work. It's kind of like you got to kiss a lot of frogs. Sometimes people get lucky. I mean, I've had people like meet somebody the first or second week you get them online dating and they're married now.
Mhm.
But it doesn't always happen. It is definitely a process that you need to go through. And then when you do meet somebody wonderful, you're like, okay, it did take me X amount of time, but it's worth the wait. Or you gain a different value in terms of that person where you can do a compare and contrast where they may not be everything you were looking for superficially, but they have all the qualities that you're looking for. And that means more the longer that you're dating, where you can recognize it.
that right there is key. So I dated online and I met my husband online.
Yes.
Oh. So I, was married for 18 years, 20 years together with my husband. And when we separated and were going through our divorce, I started online dating. My first online dating though was just for fun. I didn't want to meet somebody for a relationship.
You
So
just
I
want
I just want to have fun, quite honestly. And so knowing what you want when
yeah,
you're going online was so important. So that for me, that was just a learn myself again because I was married for so long. I was mom for so long. I mean, still am mom, but it's just a different, my kids were teenagers at that point. I had more space to go out and play and discover me and
yeah.
I had so much fun dating online. And then when I was ready for a relationship, I completely shifted how I dated online. Completely. I
Tell,
was
tell, tell me about that.
well, for one, I also moved. So it was kind of an easy way to shift. Although I didn't have to move to do that. But originally, I was just dating just to get out and discover and have fun. Then when
Yeah,
I decided I was ready to meet somebody, I shifted my whole mindset and I was ready for a relationship, which I wasn't prior. And
right.
what that meant to me was that I was going to be more serious about when I met somebody and pay more attention to who they were, their values, their goals. Did they mesh with what I was looking for, our compatibility, our family lifestyles, so many things that I looked at that I didn't really care about prior. So
Did you shift at all in terms of superficial things like maybe height or where they went to school or anything along those lines, if they had kids or not?
Uh, that never, I'm short.
Yeah,
So 5'4", I was never like height, I didn't need to have a 6 foot and above. So that
okay,
was not something for me. I don't think
good.
I wasn't, I have a type for sure. My husband is my type.
Yeah,
I definitely like a more darker look. And although he's married to a blonde hair, blue eye, pale guy. So,
yeah,
which is funny, but I've always been attracted to that darker look.
yeah.
And so Education, it was more about who they were. It
Yeah.
was, for me, it was so strongly about how did they show up? How did they
Yep.
treat me? Did they
Yes.
make me feel like I was a priority? Did they pay attention to, how I fit into their world and how they integrated me with their family and their friends?
Yep.
How he was an amazing father. That's why I have 5 kids. 3 are my own, 2 bonus kids. How
Yeah.
he interacted with them. So I looked at how he showed up,
Yep.
even at his work, you know, um, how people respected him at his work and they admired him and they liked him. So all of those things just supported my feelings of this is a good man.
Yeah. Love that. Tell us about like one of your more recent matchmaking stories. How did you know that it would be a match?
So I had a marriage in September of last year, and that was a really fun one. This gentleman, and interesting enough, I met him on a Zoom during
Okay.
during COVID.
Okay.
He was living in Marin County, and I'm in Santa Barbara. So Marin County is like San Francisco area.
Okay.
It's 5 hour difference. And I was referred to him because he was looking at real estate. And one of the realtors said, he mentioned that he was newly single. Oh, you should talk with this matchmaker, Lisa. We
Okay.
did this Zoom. Not only did I just adore him, such a spectacular man, we just connected so strongly, and he knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted to buy a home in Santa Barbara. He knew he wanted to meet somebody. He was very intentional. He was ready for another relationship. Um, I I just adored him personally. He was strong ethics, values, so many of the things, and what he was looking for. He was realistic. He was age realistic. He uh, was of service. That was a big part of him. And when he described himself, I knew I wanted to represent him.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew I had his match. I just knew because I know my people.
Yeah.
And when when you start talking to somebody and they start describing themselves and what they're looking for, I'm sure in your head people pop up like, oh my gosh,
100%.
I think this person and that person. I
Yeah.
knew that they were the right match.
Yeah.
Called her up immediately afterwards after he hires me, and I said, I want you to meet this man. But it was COVID, and
Yes.
they met over Zoom.
Love it. I love it. How long did it take them to meet in person?
Not long. They hit it off on Zoom. They would have phone call after phone call for about a week, and then he came. He was there within 2 weeks. He came to meet her,
Yeah.
and he was shorter than her,
Love that.
and 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 a Zoom, it's a little bit hard to see that.
There you
Although
go.
she knew she had the stats, but when she first met him, she realized, oh, just like by an inch, but still, it was you meet somebody in person versus, but she's like, it didn't matter. Like he was so much bigger and better, and the connection was wonderful when they met, and they are now married.
Love that. Oh, that's a beautiful story. Let's segue a little bit over to how to know when it's time to leave a marriage. And I know most of the time, I work with people who are already divorced. I mean, always really. Um, because I feel like they need to have that in North Carolina, you need a year of separation before you can even get a divorce. And that's the time where people take to get through all the awful stuff. I mean, there's awful stuff afterwards too, but I feel like a lot of emotions, a lot of fears, a lot of custody issues, financial stuff. It's like get that all done before you start dating, is my opinion. There are plenty of people that date when they're separated. It's just something they do. I'm not throwing shade at them at all, but in terms of hiring a matchmaker, it's probably best to like get your business done and then come to us. And maybe
Yes.
even, already have a relationship under your belt before, that may not have worked out since the marriage has ended before you come to us as well. Do you work with people who are separated?
I will only take on a client if their divorce proceedings are underway and there's like I know what's happening
Yeah.
within like 3 months to 6 months. Like it is
Yes.
happening. There's no reconciliation chance at all. They've moved on. So yes.
So, do people ever just come to you for advice like, I'm not happy in my marriage? Just like friends, or do people sometimes say, I feel like I'm going to have to hire you in the future. I can see the writing on the wall with my marriage. Have you ever suggested anyone to leave their marriage or just given them some things to think about in their marriage?
Absolutely. So I have had, uh, I'll give, it's not even that recent anymore, but one that's the most special to me was actually my daughter,
Okay.
who was in a relationship. Good guy, nice guy. They were young. He was a little childish, but she wasn't happy. And she came to me and said, Mama, I don't know what to do.
Hmm.
So what I did with her was I do something called contract to myself.
Okay.
And went in, it's like, let's try to separate. Let's not talk about the relationship. Let's talk about who you are and what you need,
Yes.
what you, what you bring to the relationship. How are you showing up? So there's a lot of things we went through. And then she walked away from that, knowing absolutely what was important to her. Like she's like, this is a man who I want to commit to, who has these items, and I cannot have any of these deal breakers. Like she knew so strongly. And then she looked at this. She's like, no wonder he's not my guy. He doesn't match at all. Like what I got
Hmm.
this list. It was so
Yeah.
crystal clear for her that he was not the right man for her, and
Yeah.
so she called it off.
Yeah.
Um, so that's different than when you're in a long-term marriage, but only because they were young, but really it's not. Every person should be so clear about what they need from
Hmm.
a partner and how they
Yeah.
show up for them, and how are
Yes.
they showing up for that partner, and how are they making that partner feel. Why are
Yes.
the So there's a lot of clarity that has to happen, and I think when somebody goes through those steps, um, I've had, I recently had two people I did this with, and they realized, you know what? This is the right person. I'm responsible. I'm not showing up for my partner. I need to step up my game.
Okay. And what did you suggest to them to do? Or did they have their own ideas?
Well, the one that I just did this morning, interesting enough,
Yeah.
for him, he realized that he's an avoidant
Okay.
and he's got a really good woman in his life. She really does have what he wants, because we were trying to identify, well, maybe she's not, doesn't have it, but she does. And
Right.
she doesn't have the deal breakers. What he does is he gets negative. He will look at the negative things. And um, and then so he self-sabotages, and he says
Yes.
he does this over and over. So what we he came through the recognition that, wow, I do this, and said, you need to work on that.
Yeah.
He needs to figure out, why is it that he tries to destroy a good thing.
Yes.
And I also told him to a practice, a fun one
Okay.
was, whenever a negative thought comes up, to recognize it,
Yes.
and could be having that her tell him, they have to have a kind conversation, like, I need you to, because she's upset with him.
Okay.
Tell me in a kind way that you're saying something negative.
Yeah.
Um, I said, maybe it's not even a word. Maybe it's a tap
Hmm.
that when he's doing it, so he
Yeah.
hears it. Oh, or maybe it is a word, or maybe she says negative, but he has to take it and realize, oh my goodness, I'm being negative. And then he needs to have a positive list of all the things he loves about her, what makes him appreciate her.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
go, okay, I hear you, negative thought.
Yeah.
You're getting in my way, but you're not gonna control me.
Right.
I'm going to put you in a corner now, and I'm gonna take control of my emotions, and I'm gonna think about all these wonderful things why I'm with this woman.
Yes.
And I I got rid of, I don't know if you did this before, but I used to say like all the time. And when I was 20, I used to say like, and I was
Yes.
cured of that in this
Yep.
manner, where every time I said like, that's why I say the pencil tap.
Yep. Yep.
So you start hearing, oh my gosh, I'm saying, and then you start recognizing it.
Yeah.
And then,
It worked for cursing, stopping cursing as well.
oh my gosh, once you start recognizing it, you're doing it.
Yes.
And then you could say, I'm doing it. I can change this.
Yeah. Totally. Interesting. I love it. Um, I have been helping someone recently with getting over an ex-boyfriend, which can really take some time. And I'll just say really
Okay,
quickly
okay.
that it takes time to do it, but it's very possible and really necessary before you sort of get out there and continue dating other people, because you don't want the residuals of this relationship in your forefront when you're meeting new people, or they really won't get a chance with you. So one of the things that right?
I want to hear what you're doing, and I want to give you a little something about that, what you just said.
Yeah, I'm all in. So she was romanticizing the relationship,
Mhm.
and he was with her for a very long time. And he could have done something to further the relationship along, and he chose not to. And she was sad about it, but she eventually left him, thank goodness, because she has a lot of goals that she wants to accomplish and was not going to be able to accomplish with it in that relationship, which they weren't married, but it was a long-term relationship. So I suggested to her to write a list of the things that she didn't like about him. We already knew all the things she did, but I suggested she do the opposite. And every time she started having a fantasy or a romantic notion of, oh, maybe we should get back together, because you always forget everything in the rear view, to kind of go to one of those items and be like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, it's not going to work. I remember this about him. I remember that about him. Um,
Yes.
and it's been working. She's been able to really clean up um, sort of the past stuff. And she had sort of a final conversation with him and basically said, we can't be friends. Like they wanted to try to be friends, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
Um, and
Worse.
yeah, and to say to him, listen, it's painful for me when you reach out. It's literally hurting me when you do, and I need to ask you to please stop.
Mhm.
And if they continue reaching out to you after you've said something like that, you have to block them on everything, because your
Absolutely.
mental health should not be shaken by someone who doesn't support you, who doesn't love you. It's all about them wanting some kind of gratification or some kind of dopamine hit from hearing from you when it's not in your best interest.
100%. Absolutely agree on that.
What were you going to say?
So I strongly agree with everything you just said. You have to just cut that.
Yep.
Uh, However, I will tell you, when I met Michael, my husband,
Mhm.
I was recovering from a
Okay.
very toxic relationship. So even though we were not boyfriend, girlfriends, we had kind of been, seeing each other for about a year. And it was a very highly sexually charged relationship. He was like a drug to me. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't get enough of this guy, but he was
Yeah.
so wrong for me.
Yeah.
And he,
I remember.
yeah, yeah, right. But it was very hard. So that was part of my move.
Yes.
I mean,
That was
I
good.
moved. I changed my entire life. I was like, this is not where I want to be. This is where I want to be. I switched everything in my life to move forward.
Yep.
Um, but I still thought about him.
Yeah.
I still thought about him every night. And
Yeah.
interesting enough, when I met Michael, this was the time when I was ready to be in a relationship.
Yep.
I knew I wanted to meet a good guy. I met a good guy.
Yep.
Michael is like, I want you to be my girlfriend.
Yep.
And I told him, I was very honest with him, saying, "Look, I am still a little hurt from this relationship that,
Right.
and I'm not completely over him."
Yeah.
And he said, "That's okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna fall so much in love with me, you're not gonna be thinking about him anymore." And I thought, it was kind of a little bit, but it wasn't even a cocky thing. I mean, he
Yeah.
was so confident in who he was
Yep.
and how much he knew our relationship was gonna work. And I kind of just tucked that, and he was patient.
Yeah.
And what I recognized, I was getting more. involved with Michael. I wasn't quite ready to jump into girlfriend at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but when he, after dating him for about a month and a half, we became boyfriend, girlfriend. But I recognize at that point, I was not thinking about Tim anymore.
Yeah.
Like I realized like, wow, I'm not going to bed thinking about him. I'm not waking up thinking about him.
Yeah.
So Michael helped me recognize what a good man was and what a good relationship was and how happy I was with him. And
Yeah.
Tim just kind of faded away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, you need to kind of set it down, even if you're having some residual thoughts. You don't want to go the rest of your life not dating because you're still thinking about somebody. 100%. Yes. Yeah. 100%. Lisa, this has been awesome. I'm going to have you back. We have so much to talk about. How can people find you?
How can they find me? AmadorMatchmaking.com is my
Okay.
website.
Mhm.
They can find me on Facebook,
Yep.
matchmaking, on Instagram, Amador Matchmaking. Yeah, so Googling me.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to see you again in the very near future, I'm sure. And we will continue the conversation. Thank
Well,
you.
this was so fun. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Love on the Go. I hope you join us on our next episode. You can make sure to know when it is by following us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed it, it'd be great if you left us a review. I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, to learn more about me and how my team can help you, visit carolinasmatchmaker.com. Until next time.